Hi there everybody and welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are looking at something that those of you who love vintage sewing machines might recognize. This is what Singer used to call its trapezoidal sewing machine case. And when it was originally created, the first machine that was sold in it was, see if you can guess, which Singer sewing machine model was first placed or marketed with this case. And I'm going to turn the case around so you can see where it got its why they called it the trapezoidal case. Now this case is made from some sort of board material and it was trimmed out. The covering here is grass cloth. It's really lovely. I think grass cloth is actually a really tough material. Now the glues that were used for these cases, I think I've mentioned in prior videos before, the glues over time, if exposed to moisture, can get really stinky. But that's true of a lot of different sewing machine cases. So while I have your attention, I'm going to open it up. Sometimes I see a case for sale and it's just the case and I buy it because I never know when I'll have a machine that can use it. But in this case, I got this sewing case with a machine in it. And that's what came in it. Now, for those of you who know my channel, and even for those of you who are new to my channel, all you have to do is look at the photograph that is part of my branding on my channel. It is the machine. This machine is one that I won in an auction recently. And I thought about it a lot because you know, I'm coming up on the 10th anniversary. No, this is the 10th anniversary of my YouTube channel. And 12 years ago, the first machine I ever overhauled was a Singer 301. And so Singer 301s have this meaning that they're nostalgic for me. I'm far too young to have ever sewn on one when they were new. But I still have viewers who do. And I so value when viewers will comment on the channel and say, I had this machine brand new. I think that is so amazing. It is so wonderful to hear from you all. And anyway, I thought we'd just take a look at what I got at the auction and you tell me if it was worth it. What would you pay? You know, I've made videos on that very topic. Okay, well, there's a box. It could be, it's very likely it's original. You never know until you start looking. And what do we have here? Well, we've got this is a fairly standard set of attachments that Singer would have provided. There's a zipper foot, and we have a slotted binder foot. Again, the standard feet these were attachments that would have been most commonly used. People were paying so much for these machines new that you had to have something to incentivize them. So you're looking at, you know, here's a ruffler. Now, I don't know how many of you who sew today use rufflers or make things with ruffles. I'm sure some of you do. But back in the day, that was a pretty big deal. And I see I think that is an edging foot for when you're trying to sew up to something close. Now, some of these feet may have been extra. There's a rolled hammer foot, which I have always struggled to use, mainly because I have baseball glove-sized hands. But some of you may struggle with them too. Now, this is a later foot, so this looks like a newer attachment. It's not original, but it's, in fact, oh, you know what? Do you guys spot that? This won't work on this machine. Someone had a sewing foot, or maybe they borrowed it and forgot that the 301 is a slant shank machine. But nothing wrong with it. I'll repurpose it to a machine that uses low shank attachments. And we even have an adjustable hemming foot, one of the large ones there. And what's left? We have a low shank foot that is, again, this is not, I think, yeah, I don't believe this is not a slant shank. This is a foot, again, used, and you can see the little measure thing, little slides there. If you know what this foot is for, many of my sewers know a lot about attachments. Please share in the comments. And it even came with two bobbins, two Singer 301 bobbins, also known as featherweight bobbins. For those of you who do not know that one of the things this machine, this glorious design, shares with the Singer featherweight is its bobbin and bobbin case and shuttle hook system. Now, what else is in here? There's another attachment. This probably was either, I know that this did not come included with a Singer machine. However, what can often happen is either someone said, okay, I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to pay for this machine. First of all, we have the original Singer 301 manual. The cover, I think the cover is gone, but that's okay. These are just bound paper, like a softback book. But the manual's there. The original cover. I may have a salvage cover for it somewhere. And then this is a manual that went to the automatic zigzagger. Now, people have different opinions about how useful these attachments are. Remember, in the early 50s, Neki was going gangbusters with their zigzag. You're starting to see Japanese machines come out, but Singer, they were a little slower. Right now, we know by the end of the 50s, they have actually. Earlier in the 50s, Singer had zigzag machines. They were not that successful. And then they came out with, of course, the 400 series, the Slant-O-Matics. Now, this is a zigzagger attachment. I've talked about these in videos sometime back. This one is, it looks a little bit different than some of them. But I see, we've got it's a standard set of zigzag patterns. Now, remember, the zigzagger could give you zigzag stitching, but they also would come with different kinds of cams that you could put in and get different. You can see here, I believe, there's a scallop. There's some sort of, Singer would have had a name for it. It escapes me. It was sort of like a triangle, maybe a dart. And then this one is, I don't know, the walls of Jericho or something. But anyway, what you see here is essentially, I don't know what that is, something that was used to shim that box. So again, whether a zigzag attachment was useful and actually helping you to, was it as good as a zigzag sewing machine? I don't think so. But, who knows? Maybe they paid extra for it. And the salesperson back then said, hey, you could really use this. Or maybe they said, I don't know, and maybe I should get a zigzag machine. And they may have, who knows, the dealer may have thrown in the zigzag attachment just to get the sale. I'm just imagining this, okay? So again, you have the 301. I'm going to take it out of the case here. By the way, if you see the machine, you think, oh no, it doesn't have a foot pedal. Yes, it does. The foot pedal is actually mounted inside the case. And of course, if you look closely, you will see that it is mounted. If I get the machine out of your way, you can see this. The foot pedal is actually mounted in a slot that looks very similar, if not the same as the slot that you would have in a Singer sewing table. That clanking you're hearing, by the way, is the extension. It's not breaking. Nothing is being damaged as I speak. Get my attachments out of my way here. Make some room so I can show you. Now, of course, when you want to remove this, you pull up. And some of you will recognize this because you see this in a lot of the Singer sewing tables, not just for the 301, but for many tables of the era. Of course, in the table, you have a place, and it slides down there under tension. It's beautifully designed. You have to be careful when you put the Singer 301 back in. This is very sharp. You don't want to scratch your paint. So be extra mindful. And this of course, is Singer's button style foot pedal. And they come in black, they come in beige, they come in even lighter colors as you get into the later 50s and 60s. But this one is brown. And I suspect it's brown because a lot of people had wooden brown floors, and they were wanting to, again, sort of camouflage it. So, I'll take this particular case does not smell. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do, and you can clean them and sanitize them, but that's a video of another day. So, there it is. In its day, it was not as portable as a Singer featherweight, but one of the lightest sewing machines, lightweight sewing machines you could buy back then. Why is that? Because, as some of you who know these machines well already realize, the Singer 301 Its drivetrain and mechanicals are all incredible steel, and yet the body is aluminum, and that is where it was able to get a lot of its weight savings. And I've got my bobbin winding spool pin there. I've got the single pin over here in the back. You see when I take the thread spool, what does it say? It says made in USA, so it's been on there a while. The thread has. Now, remember, one of the most important things you're ever going to check if you're looking for a 301 or a featherweight, and I think I've mentioned this a number of times, but it does bear repeating. There you go. That right there, that is your bobbin case. It is one of the most expensive original parts to replace because they are highly coveted. I would argue it is one of the finest bobbin cases in the history of sewing machines in the world. I know that sounds over the top, folks, but I really think it is. This is an original. I'm going to pull it off for us here. Still has a bobbin of thread in it. Now, basically, you want to make sure that this is here. Now, sometimes stores or people who are selling sewing machines, they may know that these little bobbin cases are so valuable. Sometimes they go walking. So they will have, you may see a sign in a store, if they know what they're doing, it'll say bobbin case at register or at checkout, because they're trying to keep it from being, lifted. And so, but notice the bobbin case right here where you see the lever. It would do a little zoom here for you guys. Okay. When you see the lever, right, this little lever right here, okay, just give it a gentle pluck and it'll spring back. Remember, your bobbin case has a spring in it, and you don't get bobbin thread tension without a bobbin case. The Japanese, I think Towa, T-O-W-A, I think is a brand. They are not bad copies, pretty good, but they're still, many people will tell you they don't think they approach the originals. And the Chinese copies, unfortunately, I wish they were, but they're not great. So if you're going to buy a Singer 301 or a Singer Featherweight, make sure it has this case. Now, can you buy it anyway? Yes, but don't pay nearly as much because you're looking at well over $100 US now. And in Canada, around what, $125, $135. It's not the end of the world. You can get them. But remember, this is one of the few bobbin cases in vintage sewing machines. They're really expensive because they are highly coveted. Now, I noticed something. Look here. There's some paint loss along the edge. That's not unusual for a vintage machine, but wow, it's really pronounced here, right? It's not just a few little nicks here and there. That's what you normally see. But there's a lot of paint loss right here. Okay, I'll put it in the light. You'll see it right there. And then over here again. Now, my thinking on this is someone was loading this machine into the sewing machine case, and they did not pay attention. In fact, I suspect when they did this, they actually loaded it with the front facing in because they figured, well, it goes in there either way. And when they did, they may have done that often, and they probably hit that area on the carry case that I was showing you. Remember, when you put your 301 into its case, these areas down here are very sharp. And if someone's just, taking it and sliding it in, they're in a hurry. Getting in a hurry is usually never a good idea with vintage machines. I suspect that those two areas that you see on the machine right here, when you see these areas of the paint loss, it's very pronounced. In fact, it's just a certain width. And then over here, if I go in and measure that distance, I'm willing to bet it's related. It correlates to the distance between sharp edges on this holder. So Singer designed it so that the machine does fit below the area that's sharp, but you'd only have so much of a wiggle room there. So again, for those of you who have 301s or if you're new to it, just be extra careful. Now, some people will just remove this, but that you don't have to. It's a great place to store your foot pedal so it's not wobbling around and smacking around. It's a great idea. Just be mindful and don't get in a hurry, and you should be okay. Another thing you could do if you wanted is whatever edge, normally the machine should go in the way I showed it to you with the name Singer, the front of the machine facing the opening of the case. And when you have that, you may actually on the back side or whatever side's going in up against the back, maybe just get yourself a small dish towel and kind of wrap it there. Just take extra care of it. But no matter, this is a Singer 301. These machines are incredibly popular with quilters and for people who love to sew. They will provide a stitch that is amazing. It is glorious. It is a rotary style stitch, and I consider it, and many sewers consider it, one of the finest straight stitches that you're ever going to come across. And this is true of the other Singer machines, like the 221 Featherweight, of course, which has the same bobbin system, but also the Singer 201s, for example. And there are others. But there you go, everyone. It's just kind of interesting to me that now that I have 10 years of the channel, I've got, yet again, another Singer 301. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, or I think I did, I purchased this through an auction, and I paid $145 for it. Did I overpay? That was 145 Canadian, so that would be 110, 115, I'm spitballing there, US dollars. It's not black. It doesn't have the long extension. That adds value. But I think it has value, and that's on the high end of what I'm willing to pay for a sewing machine. But I find that Singer 301s, they're one of the most amazing machines. And along with Singer 99Ks, for example, that I've mentioned, this is also not a bad machine to learn the hobby of sewing machine restoration. Or maybe you just want to sew with one and you want to restore it yourself. Either way, it's kind of interesting that I've come across another one in the same color as the one that started my whole hobby here, that really was the beginnings of my hobby, and what you see every time you come to my channel. Speaking of my channel, if this channel has been helpful to you in any way over the years or recently, please consider donating. You can go to the link where it says Buy Me a Coffee, and you can buy me as few or as many coffees as you would like to help support my efforts to keep buying machines, keep looking for machines to talk about, to sell, to get them into the hands of others who really want to learn to sew. And then between the donations and the selling of the machines, I take all of that and I reinvest finding more machines. So it just keeps going. That's the idea, is to keep it going. And all of you have been so supportive over the years, and you've told me in the survey that you want the channel to keep going. Don't stop here. So I've listened to all of you, and hopefully some video or videos on this channel over the years have been of use to you in some way. I know I heard a lot of people in the survey told me that they were able to save machines they couldn't get service for otherwise by learning to do DIY because of this channel. And other people said that there is a place locally, but they charge an arm and a leg. And I figured out I would try to do it myself. And if that has helped you, it makes me feel so wonderful that has been one of the results of starting this channel in the first place. So thank you all again, and I will see you as we move into the new year. We've got lots of videos coming, and here's to another 10 years. We'll see you soon.